Welcome to the Clicks and Giggles podcast. This is your host, Jordan Rothwell Perry. Thrilled to have you listening. And today's topic is not the most fun one, but it does matter a lot. And it is market research. And so before you turn this off, I think what will help you get excited about market research is when I tell you this stat and the growth of the market research industry. So in 2016, it was barely a $70 billion industry. In 2021, it was a $76 billion industry. Now, in 2024, it is a $100 billion industry with forecasts to be close to $109 billion in 2026. That's wild. So if you think market research doesn't matter, or maybe you've been taught that, it does matter. And I hope those numbers encourage you. Like, wait a minute, if people have made billions of dollars on market research, how important is that for your business? So what is market research? I'm so glad you asked. Market research is the process of gathering and analyzing information about a specific market, including customer needs, preferences, competitor activity, to help businesses make informed decisions about their product and marketing strategies. The purpose to understand the target market and identify potential opportunities. So as I'm reading this right now, this is from Google, and I'm adding my tilt and spin to it right here, where potential opportunities for you to create an offer around it, for you to create a way to help more people because you got the deets, baby. And so then some methods of market research would be a survey, interview, focus groups, just observation, and analyzing existing data or data, however you prefer to say it. Now, some benefits of market research: it helps companies develop better products, target marketing effectively, and reduce business risks. Who else listening wants to reduce business risks? I say, as I raise my hand. That is just from Google defining it. We've talked about what an opportunity is, and then we've talked about what it is. And so now I want to talk about how you can do it. When it gave different examples in the notes, and I read them to you, right? Survey, interview, focus group, yada, yada. Just start somewhere. Like, do not overcomplicate this. Let me give you some good examples, and I'll give you real life examples. So an interview. I had an awesome person she's an ADHD coach, Bree. She's amazing. And she is always looking to improve her programs. And she's always looking to find out what people are needing right then and see how it's changed over time. So how she conducted her interview was she just set up a Calendly link and said, hey, I would love to have 45 minutes of your time. Here's what we're going to talk through. If you're willing, please sign up. And also she gave the criteria for it. She is an ADHD coach. So if you're not neurodivergent, no offense, but like, she doesn't want to talk to you. And so by narrowing that down, it was very easy to have the right people sign up. And so then I signed up, hello, and we chatted and talked, and she had a list of about 25 questions that she went through. So she was so well prepared, and she knew what she was building an offer around or what she was trying to tweak because she has an offer already. And she knew that in those 25 questions, people were going to answer differently, that it may totally change the direction the ship that she is captaining may change that direction. And that's okay. That's the point of it, is to not offer something that someone just actually doesn't need or can't afford or is too much of a time commitment. Just all these different things you find out from your ideal client. So let me also emphasize here that it's your ideal client. So she wasn't just asking anyone as an ADHD coach. She was like, hey, if you are an ADHD business owner or are in the corporate world, this is for you. I met with her. It was great. And she asked great questions. And I will tell you this, at the end of it, she sent me a Starbucks gift card. You better bet your hiney, when I was in Alpharetta recently going to Starbucks, she was fueling all of my days when I was working there and enjoying time there. And I just kept thinking of her like, wow, I loved getting to serve her through answering her interview questions, but what a gift to me to really thank me for my time in that way. So that's something to encourage you to. If you do an interview, what's a fun way you could thank them after? And you better believe if I need a coach in that space down the road, she's on my list. Like, I just have seen how much she cares, and it's incredible. So come to an interview prepared like she did. And then also leave a little bit of space just to ask them, like, is there anything else I missed? And is there anything else that, based on the questions I've asked you, that might be helpful for you to tell me? And do not forget to record that interview. Make sure it's recorded. If you want to go a step further, I love Fathom for recording. It's free in the beginning, and then now I pay $19 a month, $20 a month, and it is worth every penny. And it can even summarize the call for you. So make sure you record whatever you do. And so next, we talked about interviews. Let's talk about surveys. You 100% can send out a survey or make a survey. And here are some ways to do it. So I have clients who actually send out a survey after a launch when people don't buy. And they ask them just why they didn't buy. What's coming up for you? Is this the right offer for you? What type of offer do you want to see? Because if you do not talk to your ideal client or customer, you will just never know. And if you're building offers from a standpoint of what you want to do, that's a scary place to be. I would recommend finding out what people need, running it then through the filter of, okay, this is what they need and this is what I have the capacity for. How can I make this amazing? But if everything you build and create is based off of what you want to do, it's going to be hard to sell because it's so inward focused rather than the external of like, wow, I have talked to 50 people and they need this, they want this. How can I do it in a way that honors me and really my best way of serving them? So with that survey, I have clients who send it out via Typeform is a platform you can use. I have some who just use Google Forms, which is awesome. Shout out to Alexis Greco, who I love so much, who after our most recent retreat had the form and the survey email pre-scheduled while it was fresh in our mind. She was like, hey, will you please fill this out? I would love to know what you thought. Well, this is Alexis to a T, being just so well prepared and just incredible in this way. But she thought ahead to just have it scheduled. So if you do a retreat and you want feedback, just have it scheduled for a couple of days after. So it's top of mind for them. And then you can also down the road send an email to everyone who didn't fill out the survey, exclude the people who have filled it out, and do a little ding reminder, which we all need from time to time. So that's another way a survey can be used. So A, it could be used for people who didn't buy. Hey, what's going on? What are you thinking? B, it can be used for people who have been to something. Hey, how was this? What would have made this better? And then another thing you can do is just survey your list to learn more. So it doesn't have to be if they bought. It doesn't have to be if they didn't buy. It could just be your whole list. And what are you needing right now? What has been working well for you? What's been hard for you? And if I could put something together around it and help you, what would it be? Questions to ask are like, how are you consuming information these days? Do you still like to be on live Zoom calls? Do you like a private podcast that you can go on a walk and listen to? Do you feel confident learning on your own, or do you need some one-on-one time in addition to this program? There's so much goodness if you just ask, if you're just curious. And so a survey can be a great, great place for that. So that you can say, hey, what's going on in your world? How can I help? And another survey that you can do, and I have had it done in a program I'm in, is submitting like a weekly tracker. And then in that, it asks, hey, anything you're struggling with this week that we can help you walk through? So that's great and high ticket too. And then it also shows you, like, if you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, this is my ideal client and they're struggling with this, A, let me help them fix it. And B, this is all to help you also use this in your messaging, use this in emails, podcasts, the hooks of social media captions, ads, reels, etc. So the information doesn't even just help you with the actual offer itself. It can help you with how to talk about it too. Taking the time to do market research will pay off tenfold. I also love the idea of a focus group. And you could just call this you could call it a focus group, I guess. I'm sure there's other cute ways to say it, but you could literally do the messaging of sending it to 10 people of like, hey, I really trust your opinion in the industry. And I would love to get us on a call to talk about this. I'm going to have some questions. And then the last 15 minutes, let's do some other Q&A. Or, I think about actually making it longer. Like, do they have 90 minutes and 45 minutes is market research, and the last 45 minutes is you helping them with something like, hey, in exchange for this information, I would love to do a coaching call on anything that's coming up for you regarding this, this, and this. Like, if you come into market research with the heart posture of gratefulness, and I know they don't tell them they don't have the time. Like, we never want to remind them of that, but like, thank you for taking the time to do this. Your time is so valuable, and I so appreciate that you're spending it on me, and you did, and can find a way to thank them. That is amazing. And so definitely figure out a way that you could gather some people together and just hear what they think, because you have to really value their opinion. But especially if they're going like, oh my gosh, yes, like obviously record this call too, get their permission to, and really look at like the social cues and the nodding and the agreement when you watch it back later to be like, oh yeah, this was resonating. Oh, this phrase was resonating. And that, I think, like, I want someone to ask me to go to a focus group. That would be so fun to just chit chat about it and be like, hey, here's where I'm at. And the other method it talked about was observation. And so observation, I'm going to translate this into one of my favorite words, which is lurking, L-U-R-K, lurking. Go look and lurk at what other people are doing in the industry. Spend some time. Don't get so lost in the sauce. Don't let it discourage you, but use it to see what's out there. If you have to make a fake email or have someone opt into something so you can see it, that is okay. This is how you work smarter, not harder. 100%. Secret shoppers exist for a reason. There's people going into other businesses. When I worked with Chick-fil-A and PDQ was opening, you bet you're behind I was over there seeing what they were doing. It would just be silly to not. There's a way to keep on blinders and keep your head down and stay in your zone. And sometimes you need to look up and take those blinders off just to be like, what are people around me doing? Is there anything new and innovative that I'm seeing? Am I leading in the innovation? Like, what's going on out there? And that is okay to focus on from time to time. Just check yourself, guard your heart, and make sure you're not getting like lost in the sauce and getting obsessed or discouraged or whatnot. Purely use it for the data collection of what is happening out there. And maybe you just say, I'm going to look at 5 different businesses who do something similar, or 10, and really make good notes. So it's not that you're just lurking so long that it doesn't have a purpose. It's like, hey, I'm going to set a timer today for 30 minutes and I'm going to look at 5 businesses, and I'm going to set a timer on Thursday to look at 5 businesses, and then I'm calling it a day for right now. But it's not this thing that you're constantly looking at things if that doesn't work well for you. I personally, I'm always just like, what's going on? What's out there? It reminds me of, my mom sometimes listens to this, so I hope she thinks it's funny. But one time we were at a wedding and my mom's like, it was way before I was dating Brad or dating anyone. And she was like, with weddings, you can look at what you like and what you don't like for the future. And it reminds me of this too, of, hey, you can look at what other people are doing and decide if it's working for them, great. If it wouldn't work for you, don't do it. But if you're like, oh, that is really neat, they use that app, I need to look into that. Like, you can learn from other people. It's public. Freaking do it. Next, I want to talk about analyzing existing data. This is also something where like most people are sitting on a gold mine of data and they have no idea, or they know it and they don't know how to sift through it and kind of pan for that gold. And I'm here to help you with that. Some existing data would be, I'm going to use my example of platforms I use, but you can interchange my email platform for yours, right? For instance, if you have a program that you sell and you're like, I want to promote a freebie, I want to promote something, I want to make something, I want to run ads, where do I begin? What freebie do I use? What not? This is what I say. I'm like, reverse engineer this. I want you to go in. So for me, it would be Kajabi, where people have paid me, if it's for clicks that count. For my own agency retainer business, it's all in Honeybook. And so we have done this. It's like, let's pull a list of everyone who has paid in the last year. And then you take it even further of like, who was the ideal client? Like who was just so ready? They're great. And then you start looking at these things. You want to look at how did they get in my orbit? So you'll check tags of them. So if you mainly run your business in Kajabi, click on their profile. What tags do they have? What is this common thread of like, I have one client that I've worked with before that their people had to go to 2 of their workshops and then they bought. So they were able to just be like, all right, by analyzing the tags of this person, I know it's going to happen. It's like, let's get them in their next workshop. They've been to one. Or you can go and see, wow, every person who's bought my program in the last 6 months, and they are stellar people, they all were on a sales call. Don't do away with sales calls then. Find a way to honestly do more of them, to incorporate them. And say you're looking at the tags and you're like, wow, 70% of people got my freebie. Well, I'd go all in on that baby with ads. It reminds me of a time when I was working with someone and she was like, I don't know, my freebie's not that great. It's not that cute and branded, whatever. And I was like, yeah, it honestly isn't. And then I brought someone on my team in and I was like, hey, can you spend an hour analyzing the data? And it turned out that like 46% of people who had bought from her had that guide. It might have been a little higher. And then we took it a step further and started running ads to the guide, then retargeting them during open cart to her program. And it was like 70%, 50%, 60% different launches of those people were tagged with that guide. And it just was like, well, yeah, it makes sense because we dug in and figured it out. The only way business gets harder is if you do not lean into the data you're already collecting. And so definitely like my big thing is to look at the tags in Flowdesk when you say like, okay, I want to look, or Kartra, Kajabi, et cetera. Hey, if these people are marked as a buyer, then what tags do they have? And really just analyze it. You could literally in the beginning export a list and just tally it up. Like this does not have to be this crazy spreadsheet experience. And if you aren't tagging people as buyers and you're just really not there yet, start with that. Go through and tag people as buyers, organize your list, organize your tags so that you can analyze the existing data. And something else you can do too is like, if you want to lead into like the sales calls and you think they work, they work, et cetera, you can take it a step further and be like, okay, let me pull Calendly data or wherever you book a call and then look at the first payment they made. For me, it would be Honeybook. And I'm like, oh, it takes people X amount of time or this many calls, et cetera. Something else you can do is look at your clients and be like, oh, where did I meet them? And what was like that first touch point? Then it was book a call. I mean, I'll give you my process right now. If someone's coming on a retainer, I generally either meet them somewhere or someone refers them to me. Then we get on a call and I would have to look at who closes within X amount of time, but they either get the proposal right after the call and sign, or they sit, noodle on it for a minute, and then a couple months later sign. Sometimes they are just info gathering, getting their house in order, getting their mind right for the expense that is ads and the benefit of paying someone so they get their time back, right? But I know what that sales cycle looks like. And so I can relax because I'm like, they'll be back or they're coming. It's fine. Sometimes it's 6 to 18 months. And if you're in it for the long haul, then great. If you aren't doing calls and you're not doing like a service-based business, then your tags, and especially if you're doing a lot of list building, like that is where the information will be, is in if you are tagging like, okay, this free guide titled X. If they got on a sales call, they're tagged discovery call. Okay, if they are tagged this live event, and really like data tells a story. So it will tell you and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I used to hate doing that workshop, but 29% of my buyers have gone through it. And so once you go through those numbers, you can make such great actually decisions for your business. Just know that you're sitting on a gold mine. You just have to either sift through it yourself or have someone on your team do it or outsource them to look at it. But I will say, the time I have taken an hour instead of just making a rash decision, the that'll preach for everything in life, but especially with market research and data, it has always paid off. Like, let's really look at this first to be sure. And what I would say too is like, if you have higher touch programs, look at everyone. And also if you have some like nightmare clients, which is terrible to say, but everyone has had them, look where they came from too. Don't be afraid to just focus on the good. Also focus on how did these people get to me? I mean, honestly, like I think about scenarios where people in the past referred me people and I was like, oh my gosh, this referral source believes in me so much, but they cannot qualify the lead for me. So it would come down to like, then I knew if so-and-so refers me, this person may not be ready yet, but they're enthusiastic because of the person who championed me so hard to refer them. Right. And so then I could go into that call kind of knowing like, oh, this person's not going to be ready yet. And it's only because of looking back on that data of, oh my gosh, this referral source is so good and they believe in what I have so much, but the client they're sending just might not be ready, and making note to be like, oh, I know that going into it. Like the point of gathering this data is to make everything easier on you moving forward. Oh, that referral source, they're going to need a little more time. They might need just like a one-on-one call and come back in 6 months. Oh, this workshop trains people to be ready to work with me. We should run this as an ad, or we should run this every quarter. Use the existing data you have to make decisions. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, why haven't I been doing this sooner? Or if you've gotten complacent and haven't done it in a while, that's okay. Today's a new day to do it. So I want to hear what you end up doing with this and learning this. But I mean, whether it's interviews, surveys, a fun focus group, just observing what I like to call lurking, and then analyzing the existing data. These are all great ways that you can start to do that market research so that you can make these informed business decisions to have better offers, to just be ahead of the game when you're selling and be like, I am so confident in this because I took the time to research it. So yeah, is research sexy and fun? Not at all. But you know what is sexy and fun? Being able to make really informed business decisions and be so confident in what you're bringing to the market. And that is what I want for you. So if this has resonated at all, you have any questions or any aha moments, please message me at Launch with Jordan on Instagram. And I am so grateful you listen, and I cannot wait to chat with you more in the future on the Clicks and Giggles podcast.